You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring Scripture and all things related to it. New episodes are released daily. For more information, check out glossahouse.com and subscribe to our channels on Spotify and YouTube. Welcome and enjoy.
Hey, let's talk about Dan. No, not my old neighbor across the street that I love. Hi, Dan, if you're watching this video. No, let's talk about Dan the son, one of the 12 tribes' fathers, right? Dan in the Old Testament, his name means judge. This is an interesting name. I don't know anybody that would name a son Judge today. Of course, that's a title that one can earn should they be elected to be a judge or appointed. But nobody has the name Judges, not that I've ever run into. So let's consider it in its poignancy and its irony and its application for us. This is a shorter name to grab because Dan's not mentioned all too often throughout the Bible. But Dan is supposed to be judge. What I think is kind of funny is we're kind of now moving toward the middle of the 12 sons. And according to my wife and other people that look at names and birth order and things like that, usually the middle child is what we like to call the justice child. Be that if you're the second of three, or be that the middle of five, or moving closer toward the middle. And so maybe Dan had this justice element as one of the middle sons within the family. And so Dan, we're getting closer to the middle. He's going to be the judge. He's going to be the one that he's supposed to help ensure that things are going well and people are obeying within the family, because he is not heir apparent, but he is to help guide the family as a whole. But Dan, who's supposed to be the good, righteous judge, his descendants end up being judged because they're the ones that bring about idolatry and apostasy whenever you read in the book of Kings. That's not exactly a good lineage nor a good story to have connected to your name. Dan's not exclusively or literally mentioned in a very useful way in the New Testament. So let's grab Dan's meaning, judge, and try to drag it over for us. Two passages come to mind. Matthew 7. This is one that we want to quote all the time. Judge not, lest you be judged. For with the judgment you pronounce that you will be judged, and with a measure you use it, you will be measured. And so this is quite literally the story of Dan in the Old Testament. Dan was supposed to be the righteous judge, and yet he ends up being judged for things that he did wrong. We see there in Matthew 7 that we are being judged as we judge others. There is a high judge on high. There's an entire book named after this guy, Daniel. God is my judge. Daniel, right? God is my judge. And that fits because he wouldn't bow the knee to Nebuchadnezzar or any of the other kings that were in Babylon. His buddies, as VeggieTale calls them, Rakshak and Benny, they don't bow the knee either because they say, God is our judge. I will not let man be my judge. Now, when we come around to the realization here in the New Testament, we look at John 5. Who is the judge of Daniel? Well, Daniel chapter 7, I believe it is the Son of Man passages. But we could go to John 5, and we see the fulfillment of that. John 5:22, for the Father judges no one, but has given all judgment to the Son. So who is our judge? It's no longer just God in general. We now know through the revelation of Scripture, it is the Son that judges us. And we know that there's going to be a great white throne of judgment, as it were, called in the book of Revelation. And we know that there we will be judged. But we also on earth are supposed to judge things that are unholy. This is one of the calls to the disciples, that whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. We have a requirement of being the judge of the world on Christ's behalf, but we need to remember that Christ is our ultimate judge. Just like Daniel said, God is my judge, and Daniel judged Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians. We likewise will be judged at the great white throne of judgment according to the Lamb's book of life. And so there what we get is that we need to recognize we do have an obligation, but we also are being judged. We can't run around, Bible thumping people on the head because we don't like what they believe. We need to show them Scripture and recognize, hey, all of humanity will be judged by the great Lamb on the throne one day. This is the name of Dan. It's a short one, but I think you can find elements of Dan's name throughout the story of Scripture. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye now.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.